Beautiful. Looks like I've shared this so it's public now and we can begin. Welcome for anyone that is catching us for the first time. We're the Radiant Evolution Collective. This is a group of soul sisters from this life and many, many other lives and mystery schools from before, where we are connecting in every week with an illumination of a topic that just feels like it's going to support us and the collective to talk about, to bring some light to. And I'm Aurora Light. I'm a conscious creation and voice activation coach and a soul embodiment guide. And I want to introduce to you, my dear friends and evolutionary partners, Nicole and Nina. So, hey, Nicole, you want to just give us a line or two about you?
You bet. So, I am Nicole. My superhero name is Radiant Soul Nicole. And I am a soul embodiment guide. And really, what I love to do is get people out of their heads and into their hearts and help them find that home, that presence, that find their center so that you can really connect with the truth of who you are once you shed all the limiting beliefs and everything that's not you, so you can show up in the world as your beautiful true self.
Beautiful. How about you, Nina?
Hi everyone, I'm Nina Infinity and I'm a transformational guide and an elemental priestess of light, and I love to support people in connecting with the elements and all of the incredible, the elemental forces creation that source us, nourish us, that create this world we live in, and support people in connecting with that infinite part of ourselves because of all of this source energy that we are and that is all around us.
Awesome. I'm glad that you brought up the elements because I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the elemental forces in a little bit. I too am an elemental priestess and creation coach. I work with all of those, and it became really embodied in me, and it wasn't something that I really consciously spoke of very often. And it feels like the time to bring the elemental forces back into the forefront of everything that I am creating. I just want to say hi because Monica and Jason and a few other people are here with us live. If you're joining on the replay, we work in the 0 point, so you're here with us now too. Saying, Monica, I am replying to your message after this. I just wanted to give it its full attention. So, yeah, I love supporting people in doing all of these things that these ladies were speaking into, and also just bringing all of the galactic magic, everybody's unique soul essence expression down to earth so we can be all of the change that we came here to be. Because I know the people that are watching this, you're the change makers, you're the light leaders, the way showers, the grid weavers, the magical beings who do have an idea of who you are as divine, immortal beings who are made of light, who came here to play, learn, grow, explore, and have some fun while we're doing it. It's work too, though, right? And we want to speak into the energy that is buffeting the planet right now. What else is new, right? The energy has been intense for years. It's not really letting up anytime soon. And it's going to feel different for everybody, but sometimes it feels like a lot of work to try to keep things in balance, to try to like navigate life, personal life, relationships, work, your soul mission, your creativity, your fun. Like, how do we balance it all? Especially for those of us who are doing a lot, who have a big soul mission, and especially for those of us who are also moms or people who are dealing with health challenges, people who are dealing with parents that perhaps need care. Like, there's a lot going on for all of us, let alone navigating the freaking collective and what the collective is going through, right? Feels like a lot of work. And I was reflecting on the fact that when I try to balance everything, I might get it for like just a split second. But then something falls out of balance and I'm like, I'm failing at this. I'm either spending too much time on work or too much time with my kid, and then my work is suffering, or I'm spending too much time on me and feeling guilty about it sometimes because there's other aspects, right? It's blah, blah, too much. So I want to throw this idea of needing to bring balance to every aspect of our life out the window and think of something else instead, right? Maybe we can use a different word that doesn't innately have this element of instability, right? Balance is precarious. As a former gymnast, when I'm thinking of balance, I'm thinking of, like holding a balance, like an arabesque on one leg. You can hold it perfectly for a while, but eventually something is going to happen and you're going to tip and you're perhaps going to fall or at least put your foot down. Balance isn't forever. So what if we started ditching balance in favor of harmony? Let's breathe that in. Harmony feels different. It's got a different energy to it. So I just want to get some reflections. Tell me, Nicole, when you feel the difference of balance versus harmony, what does that feel like in your body?
So I have a lot of a lot of thoughts on balance, and it feels restrictive because when you have that definition of it being something that you're constantly trying to juggle and maintain, it feels unattainable for any length of time. Harmony feels like a surrender. It feels soft. It feels just this really gentle, soft energy that seems much more attainable and much more desirable. To be honest, um, I'd rather have that sense of flow and things coming together and working in this beautiful mixing and melding way rather than, you know, balance also kind of feels like lack a little bit too. Like you're not balanced if you're trying to seek balance, and that's like you're lacking it. So um yeah, I don't know if harmony feels like the opposite of that, but balance definitely feels a little bit like lack to me. And I'm curious, yeah, a little bit more. I guess Nina can answer first because I'd like to know how she feels, but I'm also curious more about what you mean if you can dive deeper into harmony, which I'm sure you will.
Yeah, Nina, tell me about how that feels in your body. And if you're watching this in a way where you could type it in, like let us know. Do you prefer the word balance in your body, or does harmony feel different to you?
What just came up for me is thinking about scales and like those old school scales where you have to have exactly the same weight on both sides to be able to achieve the balance. And in life, like conceptually, that sounds awesome. Ideally, that's what we all would love, right? But in life, everything is shifting and changing always. The only constant is change. And so it's, like you were saying, Aurora, sometimes we'll get to a point where we feel like, okay, like I feel like I've got it kind of all going. I've got it all together. But then something shifts. One part of our life needs a little bit more attention. And then the other things might need to, we have less time to focus on those things. So it's constantly shifting and changing. For me, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So I am learning how to accept myself and my productivity, like what I do, to be enough in those times when other areas of my life needs more focus. For example, my home, if there's a couple of things out of place, sometimes my mind just can't focus. And also I actually can if I like get into it. Like if I remind myself I don't have to have it be perfect. I think that can be, especially if you're a recovering perfectionist, there can be a little bit that comes up around, I want everything to be balanced all the time, but letting other areas, being gentle with ourselves and letting other areas be as they are when we'd like to give more attention to those other areas, right? Like just like kind of being in this allowance and flow. What also comes up around that is expectation, and how sometimes there can be such rigid expectations on how we want something to look. And as I was contemplating this before we came on live, I was thinking about it's still important, and I'm very supportive to set intention, but and to attune into how we want to feel, how that might look, and in our inner vision, how that might feel in our bodies to create something in particular, but to not be so tightly wound around the expectation of like, it has to look like this. And I think sometimes that can come with the expectation of balance. And we get to notice when that might be arising and surrender. And so that's sort of what comes up for me when I think about the harmony and balance. Is harmony is a little bit more in the surrender and the acceptance and the allowance of what is, which allows us to flow more.
I love that. I just had to breathe it in. This is what we do. We huff energy that feels good to us. So if you're feeling like you're wanting some of this, any of the codes and the words that are being spoken, feel free to breathe them in so you can receive them as well. So yeah, I wanted to dive into the feelings before I started defining a word like harmony, because I didn't want to skew your perception. And we've had an interesting couple of comments because, of course, everyone has a different operational definition and embodied experience of words. So Peter, for example, is saying balance and harmony both feel stationary, whereas flow seems to resonate with him. And Valerie's saying balance and harmony both feel good for different reasons. Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a hyperbole saying like, screw balance, let's throw that out and bring something else in instead. For me, when I think of harmony, it's not actually stationary, but of course, again, everyone has a different experience. To me, harmony is the ever changing flow of different elements, different tones, different frequencies, different focuses coming through in the perfect and divine time, and giving the space to one element to come forward while another one retreats, or perhaps one to be louder than the other. And we can think of it in terms of a song or a symphony. It would be an awful cacophony if every instrument was playing every note at the same time, at the same volume. How much fun would that be, right? The dynamics of different things coming forward and then coming back, and the crescendos and the things coming into pause, rest, and then moving forward again. All of this, to me, has a lot of movement. So harmony is not stationary. It is flowing with. It is bringing things forward in the perfect time for us to give the loving attention and care to what is in front of us, which really helps me navigate life, and then allowing things to pull back and letting it be that, letting it be flow, rather than this impression of balance. To me, I get a tightrope walker who is walking over this cavern while also juggling all of these glass balls and needing to balance. That's what balance feels like to me. And you can have a totally different visual or interpretation. But that's why harmony feels so much better, because there is such intensity, but the intensity of the energy of life does not come through all at once. Thank God. Like, it would be unbearable if it did. But things are highlighted at particular times. And sometimes that's reflected in the astrology, like what the sun is in, what the moon is in, what planets are in retrograde, what eclipse is coming through, and what planet that is in, right? And to me, that exemplifies this as above macrocosm and microcosm of the holographic universe that we exist in. We're not supposed to be trying to balance everything perfectly like those old-fashioned scales all the time. Some things are meant to be focused on, and other things are going to come through at different times. So this whole idea of harmony is an idea that we want to offer you as we're navigating particularly intense energies, especially with the eclipse coming up in a few days and the solstice portal that'll happen on the 20th to the 22nd sort of window, because there's always the solstice, but then the window of energy around it. And we're in that portal right now. And the solstice portals are 2 a year, are always, for me, and I think for many in the collective, the most potent and powerful times where we can access our higher self, our multidimensional self, and a lot can come through, a lot can shift and change. And I believe the energies that come before, like these eclipses, those are transformational portals, they're coming through to prepare us for the solstice energy and offering a chance to shake out anything we don't need. What else is new? We've been going through this process for a while, but there's layers, there's levels, and more is ready to fall away so that we have the space on the solstice to really open and receive what's going to come through and what's next. So, yeah, where do we want to go from here, ladies?
Yeah, that was the whole reason that we are on this topic today, is because I had I was just noticing how interesting it is with these energies, and as we're moving through the ascension process in humanity, how things are always shifting and changing so much, and we're never like just leveling off and being like, this is where the energies are staying. Like, it's always like we're moving up higher, different. Oh, now you get to experience this new thing now. Like, it's not, we don't have that, at least in my perception. I used to kind of view the world as it was very stationary, I guess, and I had to change around it, but the world stayed the same. Now I'm changing. Well, it was probably always like this, but that's how I perceived it. And the world's changing, and it's changing at such a rapid pace. And it's just like, whoa, how do you even find your grounding and your footing in all of this? And that's where coming back to your center, finding that harmony, that balance, that flow, whatever feels good for you, is so key and so important, because we need that. We're the ones, like, we have to ground into ourselves, root into ourselves, come home into ourselves, and that's where we find that, like, we're the center point. um yeah, let's breathe that in.
We are the center point. Yeah, mic drop. I want to go to you, Nina, in just a moment. I saw you're ready to speak, but just for anyone that might be watching who's perhaps never heard us speak into these energies, just a very brief synopsis of what is happening on the planet is the frequency of the planet is literally raising. We're moving out of a lower frequency, which is more dense, into a higher frequency. And so through that, our perspective and our experience is being elevated. But the stuff that was of that lower frequency, belief patterns, thoughts, experiences, programs, old paradigms, entire ways of being, need to fall away. They cannot come with us up to this higher perspective, this higher frequency. That is us coming into a higher perspective of understanding more of who we really are. Right? We are moving out of the idea that we are separate, out of scarcity, out of this separation and fear, and into, through the process, a unified field of understanding that we are all one yet individuated aspects of that. So when we're talking about the energies, it's all the light coming to the planet right now that's illuminating everything that can't come with us to this next level of our human expression and evolution. So yeah, Nina, what are your thoughts?
I wanted to share a visual that was coming up for me around harmony, and that is the infinity symbol, my name, the infinity symbol. So what Nicole was just sharing too is that we're the center point. It's interesting because that there is that center point of the infinity symbol, and there's this flow from one to the other. The infinity can be a symbol of so many things. It can be the symbol of giving and receiving. So that's, that's a great way to kind of think of harmony, because it's not stationary. Sometimes we're giving and we're in service, and sometimes we're in receptive mode. And as well, there's that divine feminine and divine masculine aspect of the harmony, or of the infinity symbol, where we can be flowing into the masculine, flowing into the feminine. When I was just sharing a little bit ago about the expectations and like the tight kind of control, that can be a manifestation or a kind of an indication of some unhealthy masculine energy. Masculine creates the structure in our lives. It's the foundation and the structure of a house. It's the bones and the structure of our bodies, the skin, what holds us together. We need that structure, but we also need the flow. We also need the fluids in our bodies, that blood that runs through our veins. We need that that feminine element where we do have that structure. We do have set the intention, but we're not so tightly bound to it with expectation that we aren't opening our hands to receive. We're not, we get to with harmony and with the flow into the other side of the infinity symbol, we get to surrender, we get to open to receive. And sometimes that can also be dualistic, where we're giving to ourselves as we're doing our practices. You know, we're giving ourselves this opportunity to be still or in silence, or to move our bodies, or to shake, to write, to journal, whatever nourishes you and what helps you to fill up and feel ready to be in service and to give and to overflow. You're receiving that moment of support from yourself. And so this really feels like harmony to me. Let's all do that with our hands, like this infinity symbol. Yeah. Feeling that flow, thinking of the waves on the shore, the beach flowing up and flowing down. The ocean's always constant. The rivers of this earth are always constant. There's always this flow of this giving and receiving, this breathing in, this breathing out. Yeah. So let's just take a breath with that.
That felt like a beautiful activation. That's I think what I love the most about playing with these women. We all really love embodied practices. That's our jam. We have all previously been professional hula hoopers, so moving the body was the essence of what we do. And as we've evolved, we've all grown into much more than that, but bringing everything from these conceptual ideas and these dreams and the knowledge into the body as an embodied experience creates experiential wisdom, which is, I think, the deepest kind of wisdom, because you're not just thinking it. It's one thing to read about fire and understand that it's hot, and then another to like feel a flame or to be burned by it. So our favorite thing to do is to create the experience of these concepts and bring the practical aligned action steps into being. And I love that we've been speaking into this a little bit, but I want to give people an archetypal structure for how we can bring more harmony into our lives. And something that we have all worked with in various capacities. And it's by including all of the elemental forces of creation. And there are a few different systems of how the elements are comprised. There's the Chinese system, and there's the system that we have trained more with, conceptualizing Earth, the physical. It includes our body, it includes the structures, it includes the finances, it includes everything that is that tangible, physical, as well as the element of like Gaia herself and her consciousness. Then we have the air realm. This is in no particular order. The air realm is the mental realm. It's that thoughts, dreams, focus, intention, vibrational attunements, frequencies, all of that. We also have the water realm, and that's the feeling realm, the realm of emotions and that's also this realm that has the ecstatic sacred play. It is magnetic, right? And together, if we just look at thoughts and feelings, that creates this electromagnetic field because thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic, right? If we go into the fire realm, to me, that's the realm of aligned action. It's a realm of transformation. It's the realm of movement. It's the realm of illuminating and shifting, transforming, as well as transmuting, right? It is the realm of doing. And then there's the fifth, the ineffable realm of spirit, right? Or the void or ether. But that is the one that is the all, that is the unseen, the some would say ineffable, but I think you can F it. You can, what's the opposite of that word? You can know it. You can know it. It's that tangible beyond feeling into the experiential as well. So if we want to have harmony in our lives or create anything, we have to have all five elements in balance and harmony to be able to do that. So we absolutely adore when we're creating anything, whether it's a program or an offering of any kind, a class, a workshop, a retreat, or just like an experience in our lives, we consciously bring some of each element in. And I know for me, if I'm missing any one of them, it's like a house of cards. It's going to be unstable and it might fall flat. So I'm wondering, ladies, if you want to share a little bit more about what that harmony within the elements can be to create balance, to just create.
Yeah, I can share on that. So where this kind of like actualized in my life is in 2014. My word for the year was balance, and I was trying to seek that like really tight vision that I had of what balance was, and I was not making room for that, all the other stuff to flow in. And it ended up not working out very well. And what I learned is that what I really needed was flow. And so my following year, my word for the year was flow. And reflecting on that, prior to this conversation, I did have the earth in place. I had the structures in place that supported me in 2015 to find that flow, so that I was doing my self-care and it was something that I got to do and it was supportive of me. So I needed that earth in place. Uh, I, the mental realm was really important, and I needed to have a mindset shift on what balance was and what I was seeking. And once that shifted so much. I had a lot of purpose when I was in that year of flow, and I was planning the women's retreat that we did for back in 2015, and that really helped me with that fire realm. And then in spirit, I had just a deepening trust, and everything was working together so beautifully. And I really embraced that concept of flow, where sometimes life was busy and that's okay. Other times there was lulls and that's okay. And I would just learn to bring these all in together and go with the flow. And yeah, it really was about a surrendering and a letting go of attachment to the expectations, like Nina was talking about, and trusting. And that's where the spirit piece comes in, that it's happening for me. Whatever's happening is unfolding in the perfect way, and I don't need to control the outcome, because I have the intention, and I can trust that spirit's gonna guide me to where I need to go. And it's so much easier when you let go. Yeah, so I hadn't actually reflected on it though in that way with all the different elements, but of course it did make sense. That year was so awesome. And having all those pieces working in harmony together was just such a beautiful experience. And when you talked about the difference at one point between harmony and flow, or harmony and balance before, it's almost like harmony has this more connection with spirit, where if you surrender to it, the harmony is going to guide you, and the pieces that need to be focused on are just going to naturally come out, and you don't need to force it or like try. It's like really surrender is just seems to be a big piece in all of this. Yeah.
I like what you said, Nicole, about the harmony being related to the trust in spirit. What came to me around that was co-creation. There's this there's that element of surrender where we understand it's not just us that's doing it. We're making it the thing happen, all the things. There's this surrender into the faith and the balance that, or the faith and the trust that source, creator, spirit, all of the elements that surround us are supporting us as well. And that helps me to just relax a little bit and just know that everything is working out for my highest good. And around bringing the elements into my life to create that harmony, what was coming up for me is how it's been a process for me to come into my body and to be in this physical plane. And when I interact with the elements, it helps me to do that. It helps me to come into my body, into the moment, into the presence, putting my feet on the earth, walking in nature, just looking around at the leaves, drinking water with intention, blessing it, like taking it in, or being under my shower, or in water, and just feeling that like cleansing, blessing energy. It helps me to take a sacred pause to come into the moment, as well as breathing, or even being around a fire when you feel the heat, or when we lay in the sun and feel that heat. There's this opportunity to come into the body and into the present, because for me, I'm very much up, and I can be up here, I can be in the upper chakras. And I know for a lot of starseeds and light workers, that can be the case because we're so galactic, we're so cosmic, and the invitation on this earth, in this plane, is to come into the body, so we get to explore the sensations of being human and how we can bring that magic onto this earth, as Aurora was saying earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that can resonate with that, myself included, especially before I started consciously working with these elements. I was so happy to hang out in these galactic realms and just feel those more high vibrational things. And I had been bypassing a lot of the human experience. And it was working with the elements that taught me how to human while still maintaining my connection to source, to all that I am, and to more of me. It brought me into wholeness because I was not afraid of diving deep, like with the emotional realm. I used to hate feelings. Like when I was a kid, I was obviously obsessed with Star Trek, but I loved the Vulcans because that beyond feeling and into the rational and reasonable and logical felt very attractive to me. So I would not have to feel the traumas and things that had been in my life. But we're here to go through that, right? We're here to be cracked open by it, to learn from it, to grow from it, so that we can do all of the things that we came here to do. And unfortunately, in this physical plane at this current time, or in the past, we had to learn our lessons through that pain, or at least that was the fastest route, which is why most of you watching have had a whole lot of trauma in your life, right? We typically, for those of us that are here to be the light workers, the healers, the transformers of the planet, want to understand what humanity is all about so we can support them. And if you've never dove into those feelings, to the body, to the embodied expression of what it's like to be in this physical, how can you actually be here and do what you came to do, and also co-create the new? Because we all know in our heart of hearts that there is a better way, It doesn't have to be so full of trauma. And that's what we're in the process of shifting and changing and transforming now. But a lot of us hold a lot of this trauma in our bodies, in our cells. And so being in the body is not comfortable. And we get to heal that, move through it, shift it, transform it, alchemize it to be able to land in our forms, because that's where the magic does happen. When we can be in our body, we're connected to our intuition, because the body is not only full of all of your ancient wisdom, but also the place where all of your DNA with all of its multidimensional access to the infinite actually is. So yeah, it is a process and a journey of coming into wholeness so that we can be in that harmony and do the things that we are dreaming of doing. I bet every single person who's watching this has a dream of a world that is a kinder, gentler, safer, more compassionate, healthy place for every living being. And if you don't, why are you watching this? Why are you drawn to it? Yeah, and so that's the one cool thing I didn't mention about the elements. It's when we bring them all into harmony together, there is this really special thing that happens, a synergy called the unified field. And that unified field is where they all interact together to create something that is more than what they are individually. And the five of them, like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, does not just equal 5, it equals this infinite expression, right? And to me, that is how we find the magic and how we find the flow.
Yeah. Love to breathe all of that in. And for those of you watching, if you're new to this, what we do when we breathe that in is we're like pausing and we're taking those codes into our bodies, we're giving our mind a moment to absorb all of that goodness. I love what you're saying, Aurora, and what you were talking about with clearing and transmuting a lot of the stuff that's in our cells using the elements is one of my favorite things to do. One of my favorite ways to do that, because we can use the fire, we can use the water, we can use the air to clear and purify, and we can also surrender that down to Mother Gaia, who can help us to transmute and transform that energy. And so that's a really powerful tool that I love to use, that we all use together, and that we share a lot in our offerings and ceremonies. And yeah, just that overarching magic of the unified field, of bringing all of that together. Like it's what surrounds us, it's what we're made of, it's what is all. And it's the infinite piece that connects us all.
Feels like you could say unified field, or you could say the quantum field, and you'd be accessing the same kind of thing with all of the possibility and infinite potential there. What is your take on creating that flow, Nicole? You've spoken into a little bit of it in 2015 when you had that awesome year. And by the way, I just want to plant some seeds. It's been a long time since we have co-hosted a retreat, but that is going to be happening again in the future, in the foreseeable future. Things are still opening up. For now, we do produce experiences that are very similar to mini retreats online, especially in our playground membership, where we do ceremonies that bring in all the elements, and there's movement and there's dance and there's sound and there's fun and there's play and there's all kinds of tools to raise our vibrational frequency, access that unified field, and then set intention for moving forward. But we are going to do more of those kinds of things that'll happen in person. So you can just watch out for some of that. So yeah, what's something that people can do now, like today, to increase their flow, their harmony?
So what I think is so important is, you know, just getting into your body first, clearing the mind. Like you could even think about how you are, you know, just doing a check. How's my body feeling? That's the earth physical. How are my emotions feeling? What's there? Just doing a little check in with that, noticing if there's anything there. And it's so important to notice, like, as a witness and an observer, and just acknowledge that maybe there's something there, or maybe you're feeling like pretty good and clear in that area. Um, Checking in with the fire realm. To me, I also think the fire realm as in power as well. So, like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling powerful or disempowered? That could be a check in. Um, or sometimes also, I've noticed recently, if I'm not doing enough, I need to, and I can start to kind of spiral down, and I need to give myself some sort of like purpose. So, I need to do a thing to kind of build that fiery energy up again. Um, in the air realm, checking your thoughts, being aware of what you're thinking. So, this is just a really great way that I find to be able to, you know, if you're maybe not feeling great, just check in with one of those different things, and it can point you into the direction of maybe what you need to focus on so that you can come back into harmony and come back into, um, yeah, just come back into that more balanced or flow. Um, and it's not something that, so for instance, I used to think at one point in time that I'm gonna have to do yoga every day, and that's the thing that's gonna make me feel good. But then I realized that some days I don't want to do yoga. Some days my body wants to do something else, and being able to check in and figure out what it is and listen to what I need in the moment is what is so important for me. And this may be different for men potentially, because I know this also has a lot to do with our hormonal levels and things like that as women, but it's probably true for men as well. And having that ability to listen helps you be able to go with the flow, because like I said, I don't need yoga every day. I need mindset work, and checking with those different elements is just such a great archetype to be able to um, to be able to figure out where it is you need to go. And it is getting like, the element of water is here with us. I'm getting the thunderstorm now. It's moved a little bit west, and it's getting very dark and thundery over in southeast Edmonton. Maybe Nina will get it soon.
It's not here yet, but I see the clouds. So yeah, it's probably coming my way. The waters are making their ways to all of us.
Yeah, I think as we're wrapping up and we're talking about the element of water, let's just dive in a teeny bit. We could talk for days about this, about flow. Like we've been bandying the word about, everyone's like, go with the flow. Yeah, that feels good. And it feels open and fluid and not rigid. But why flow? What is so great about that? And I want to bring us into just a chat about flow state, which is one of the highest frequency states. It's like a meditative state where I'll define it, and then I want you ladies to speak into it. You are in pure presence, and you are in this relaxed presence. You're open, you're receptive, and you're responsive. So you are doing, and all of the different facets of you, body, mind, soul, all of the elements are in balance and working together in that unified field where you are moving, you are doing, you are creating without conscious thought, really. Or you might have a conscious thought here, but it's not directing the show. And it is a state of mastery. We can't do something that we're like a super noob at and find flow state, because it has to be practiced enough to be in our body. But things that you have done, like driving a car as an adult, you've been driving for 20 years, you might notice, that you don't have to consciously think about it. And you can be out on the open road and you might be like, just feeling so present with the music, with the air, with the road, with the wind, with the scenery. Some people might find that running. I love finding it dancing. So yeah, what about that flow state really is important to you, Nina?
Yes, I definitely agree with you there. Dance is a big one for me. And you mentioned earlier that we're all flow artists, we're all hoopers. So when I was really experienced with the hoop to the point where, as you mentioned, you know, when I was in a total newbie, my body knew all of the movements very well. There was that deep groove. There was that experience where I was able to just drop in and allow my body to just do one move and then the next and then the next. And it was just this effortless flow where I wasn't thinking about it. It's this no mind that so many different spiritual paths talk about. And that is such a, like when I feel into that, it's just like this bliss and this state of yummy, like I want to hang out there, like this harmony. And what's really beautiful is that, as I mentioned, we're creating, like, when we have this experience in something, we're creating these grooves. We're actually creating, we're riding on these neural pathways that have deepened grooves. So the more that we give ourselves opportunities to hang out in flow, the more we'll continue to access those states. And being able to tap into those states, I think there's these like access points, and they might be different for all of us. As you were mentioning, Aurora, dance, running, different, you know, activities. Like for some people it's art, for some people it's singing, music, movement, whatever it may be. And so my inquiry for you, that is for all of those watching right now, is to consider, what are your access points of flow? Where are those places where you feel are really juicy and yummy, those states of bliss where you go into that no mind state? It's that thing you can do for hours without noticing that time is passing. And practice those things. Give yourself the opportunity to let those practices be at the forefront and be a priority for you, so that you can be in those states more often, and then that will ripple out into other areas of your life.
Let's just breathe that in. So you have your invitation, and I just had a realization. I think I was speaking to the girls the other day about one of the nicest compliments someone had ever given me ever. And it was a mentor of mine from Belief Repatterning. Her name is Suze Casey. And I'd been training with her for about a year. And she said to me, you know, the biggest shift I've seen in you is that now you live and walk like you dance. And I did only fully grasped what she meant, like right this very second when you were speaking about flow. Because I got it intellectually, that yes, because at that time I was a dance performer. I was dropping into flow state and it felt really good. It felt very fluid. But really, she was speaking about, I had practiced with my mindset enough. I had made and created those neural grooves that allowed me to remember who I really was and focus on the things that I wanted as opposed to those that I didn't want enough, that I was able to now flow through life. And that was embodied in me through the expression of how I walked, how I was speaking, how I was interacting, and what I was creating. So just like Nina was saying, yeah, it will ripple out. But we do have to give ourselves permission to actually suck at something first, right? It's going to feel awkward. We have to be a beginner and practice until it is deep enough into us that we can actually share it and then find the flow with it. So it's okay if you don't have anything in your life where you feel like you can flow, but I bet you do. I bet it could be something as simple as doing the dishes, right? Where you don't have to think about it. That can be a meditative flow state. But gifting yourself a hobby, a tool, a dance, an experience where you practice enough that you can find that is a beautiful thing. But you might also be seeking it in business. You might be seeking it in speaking a language, right? You can find flow state with a new foreign language. So it gets to be what you choose. And it's going to be hard at first, and then it'll get better, no matter what it is that you're wanting to create. We do have to wrap it up pretty quick, Nicole, but I would love to hear your thoughts on flow state before we end harmony, before we wrap it up.
So I was totally dropping back into that feeling of flow state when I hula hooped as well. And it was uncomfortable at first. And I do remember, I remember just wanting to learn how to do all the things and be good at it enough so that I could feel like I was in that flow. And how we do one thing is how I think we do everything in our lives. So the more you practice being in flow in something, it does ripple out into other areas and other aspects of your life. And then all of a sudden, like one beautiful thing about the hoop is mistakelessness. And once you learn to flow with it and it falls, you can just pick it up and make it part of your dance. And that is, how you can navigate life as well. Once you've integrated that into your dance and your play, then that ripples out into your life. So things come at you, and then maybe they're not as challenging or difficult as they once were, because you now have the tools that you've embodied to be able to go with the flow. And it's not this, that's such like a almost meaningless statement when you just say go with the flow. There's so much deepness and richness to it. Just trying to think. I feel like that's all that's wanting to come through as we wrap things up.
It's really interesting to really dive deep into those statements that people say it all the time. My mom was always saying, like, go with the flow, just go with the flow. And like, to me, when I was younger, that meant, like just being agreeable and being like, okay, this is happening now, whatever, no big deal, instead of, being in resistance and trying to control things. I got that much, but I did not realize the depth of the wisdom, right? I did not realize how rich that flow state could be. So I just want to leave you with the power of flow. And I want you to just tune into this Taoist wisdom of water actually being the strongest substance on earth. And you may be thinking, oh no, it's got to be like diamond or rock or steel or something, right? But water actually is able to corrode or wash away, erode any of those things over time as it flows over it. If you have a big boulder in the middle of a river, the river is not going to be in resistance to the boulder and be like trying to shove it out of the way. It just flows around it. But through that process, it's doing what it needs to do, but it's also going to be wearing down the boulder until it's a grain of sand. Oh, it might take millennia, but still. So when we find that flow state, we actually are in our power. We're in our creation power. We're in the power of being able, through our softness, through our surrender, through our through just the essence of being in that relaxed state of openness, we are the strongest that we can be. So it is pouring here where I am in Sherwood Park. There's a really awesome thunderstorm, and I want to go out in the rain and enjoy it. And I'm just thinking that it might be a fun way to flow, since I can't go to the park with my tiny human today. I mean, we could, but I don't want to in the rain. But maybe we'll do some dancing in the rain. I don't know if she's ever done that at 5 years old, of just spending a few minutes, like just not even in rain gear, fully open and surrendering to the rain and just letting it flow over, instead of running and cowering from it with me going, get inside, you're going to get wet. So that's how I'm going to flow with today, if she's open to it. And if she's not, she'll just get a show while I do.
A little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, I asked Aurora to come out and play in the rain with me as we were getting out of the car and going into the house. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, you're 4. You should totally want to do this with me. Why are you being like, but Mom, we can't go do that. So apparently I need to have a little bit more spontaneous fun with her. So she is real. So her inner child can go out and play.
I have such good memories of my mom doing that with me. She was always, encouraging that play. So I love that you're doing that with your daughters.
And perfect segue. We could not have planned this better, actually, because we are in flow now. This is a good time to let you know that if you would like to have more of this flow and more of this play in your life, we are actually doing a ceremony in our Playground membership on Wednesday at noon Mountain Time about sacred play. And so we are going to be moving through all kinds of different exercises to get us into the flow, bringing in all of the elements. We're going to be doing a beautiful meditation to activate our inner child, our inner rainbow star child, not the wounded child, but that spark of us that is infinite and divine, creative expressions of the unified field. We're going to let that aspect out to come and play. And when we do that, we're tapping into our creator beingness. And then we're going to do some really fun and silly exercises as well. And if you're like going, oh, I would love to, but I can't possibly do fun and silly things online, you know, like especially with people I don't know, with a membership, you also get access to things like belief repatterning, where I just went through an exercise that's up in our membership portal called permission to play even when things are tough. Right? In the membership, we have featured teachers, as well as our ceremonies, as well as things like belief repatterning, sacred journaling, movement practices, all kinds of things that are supporting us in doing what we're talking about today, coming into harmony, coming into finding flow, so we can bring all of our galactic cosmic magic down to earth and be that, so that we can go off and do our soul missions of elevating the frequency of the planet and solving all the problems and doing all of those things. We require a place to play and fill ourselves up, to have the resilience to actually do those things. So if you want to join us, the membership is going to be linked in the notes and everything like that. It's $33 US a month. You can cancel at any time, and you just have this huge toolkit available to you and a community to have some fun and bring more harmony into your life. So anything else you want to share?
Just the one piece of flow that I forgot about was that being in that flow state is like how I talked at the beginning of finding that center, finding that place where you're at home. The flow state brings you there. So being in that place of harmony, being in that place of flow is really coming home into yourself.
Hang out with us long enough and you will also be huffing words and ideas and just bringing them in.
That feels like the perfect way to close it. Thank you, Nicole, for that gem of wisdom. And yeah, thank you both. I loved this conversation, and thank you all for watching. I feel lit up and really excited to play with those of you who feel called to joining us in the playground.
I am lit up too. Like, my face looks so much softer, and I feel like this kind of joy infusion actually shaves years off, right? Like, it's just the thing that lights me up to having not only beautiful illuminating conversations with you beings, and also having you as my friends and collaborators and co-creators, but also getting to share some of that with the world and invite you in to come and play with us, because it is so amazing to be able to connect with each other and play and support and just have some freaking fun. So thank you, everybody that was watching. We will be back next week around the same time for another illumination session. But again, you can join us in the playground before that if you want to come and play. We also have laughter yoga coming up towards the end of the month in there. That's going to be so much fun. So until next time, we are sending you all so much love. May you be in joy and flow and harmony in your day.
Bye.